Good morning, and thank you for tuning in to the Tatecast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We've got a great show for you today. We're going to be covering the Milwaukee Bucks head coach, Adrian Griffin, Pete Carroll and the Chargers, the WWE Raw and Netflix, and then make sure you stick around later in the show where we'll be discussing today's oddities. Before we start, I'd like to ask you that you like and follow the show. Also, we get a number of questions from the viewers that come in during the show, so to ensure that your question gets read on the air, I ask that you use the tips and donation link with your question. The tips and donations link is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. This puts your question at the top of the list so that we can see it, and it also just really helps the show. Without further ado, let's get started.
Hello, Miss Faith. How are you doing there?
I'm good, Tate. How are you doing?
I am doing good. I'm all excited about today. First chance I get, I'm going outside. It is like super sunny. It's like a summer day outside today, so I'm definitely jonesing to get out there and get into some sun.
Whew, that must be nice. I'm jealous. It's still freezing cold here and rainy. It's rainy all week and foggy,
Okay,
so it's
what's considered cold today?
I think I want to say the high is around 50s, and the
Okay, that's not
lows,
bad
well, the
considering what I've
lows
been
are
hearing.
the lows are like in the 20s, so like it
I
goes from
can't do it.
20 to about 50, and then raining makes it even worse. And so it's just the perfect weather to like stay in bed and with the heater on and watch TV. I struggled getting out of bed this morning. I really did.
Wow, especially in those cold mornings. It's supposed to be 70 here. So I am definitely fired up for to get outside.
Yeah. Ugh, that must be so
So, and
nice.
just so everyone doesn't, if you haven't been watching the show, I live in Europe in the Algarve in Portugal. So, which is right by the
Living the
beach.
dream.
It's sunny. Absolutely love it. All right. So, what do you have for me today, Faith?
Alrighty. So first off, we're going to be discussing Adrian Griffin. He was fired as Milwaukee's Bucks head coach after 43 games Tuesday, which was yesterday, January 23rd. Um, I I don't really keep up with basketball that much, but apparently it's normal for head coaches to be fired at not even like being there for a
I
year. That's what I
No, no,
read.
no.
So,
That is not normal. It's, in my opinion, that's the total opposite of normal. Um, he just got there. He's a first year coach. He has the second best record in the league. Only 3 games from having the best record in the league. He's only behind the Celtics in the Eastern Conference. And it's not even all-star break. And when you look at it and you're saying you need a guy, it for a first-year coach, I feel like he needs some time to kind of get some cohesion with the players, understand his players, uh understand what their strengths and weaknesses are. I don't feel like the Bucks really gave him a fighting chance. I do understand that the Bucks, Milwaukee Bucks, are a championship or bust team. But when you look at it, if you're going to bring in a first year coach, you're going to look at him and give him a chance to really understand the team. From everything I'm seeing, it seems like uh, with the addition of Dame Lillard, I felt like the Bucks defense wasn't as strong as it was last year. I think they were a top five, top yeah, top five defensive team, and now I think they're like 20th or 21st defense. So they definitely did slide, but adding Damian Lillard, he is not known to be a defensive stopper. I thought you needed to give him more time. Now, from everything I'm seeing, they're really, really looking at bringing in Doc Rivers. And if they're looking at, hey, this guy's a brand new coach, he's young, and we don't have time to make that adjustment, and they're going to go after Doc Rivers. Kudos to them for taking that plunge, but I think to eliminate a guy's to fire a guy this early in the season on his first job, I just think was done in bad taste. What was your thoughts? Imagine you just start a brand new job. You're there. You're within your first couple of months of being at the job. You're like, man, I'm really starting to get on to things. There's things I'm learning, and then it's like, hey, you're out of here.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
I can't imagine, like, he's only been there since June, so it hasn't even been a full year that he's been coaching. I I feel like at least give him a full year to try and get the team back on track to where they were, you know. Um
And when you're saying back on track, they have the second best record in the Eastern Conference. I think the second best record in the NBA, and they're only 3 games from being in first place and overall the best record in the league. I think that shows that he's being successful. It'd be
mhm.
different if you were like the Lakers and the Lakers who made it to the Western Conference Finals, and now they're battling, to make the play in. And if you're looking at that and you're like, we're championship or bust, and we're in danger of missing the play in. Okay, that makes sense. But to be like, I'm only 3 games from having the best record in the league, and you're like, you're out of here. I mean, he has to feel uh not good about this. Well, no one feels good about being fired, but you're going home, you're talking to the family, yeah, we're doing really well. I'm really excited about our you know, our team. We're going into the All-Star break where you'll get some time during the All-Star break that you can work on some other things. Maybe have the owner come to you and say, listen, we're really slipping in the defensive category. In order to win, we need to be a strong defensive team, and say, hey, coach, I mean, hey, we'll work on it. We'll get better at it. But I don't feel like he got a chance. Do you
No.
agree on that?
No, I definitely feel like he didn't have a chance. And Griffin's tenure is actually the third shortest in NBA history for a head coach, which is
Jeez.
absolutely insane to me. And Bucks were 6-4 over the last 10 games, and they were in the middle of a 2-game winning streak. So, I mean, it doesn't really make any sense as to why he would be fired. I know you
How do
did
you
touch.
Go
I
ahead.
know
Go
you
ahead.
did
Go ahead. I'll
touch
let you
on.
finish.
I know you did touch on Rivers, and they said Rivers and the Bucks are working towards a deal, but they also said Chris Haynes, head coach of the Philly 76ers, is strongly considered
Philadelphia
as well.
76ers.
Yeah.
Okay. From what I'm seeing as I've been diving into this, it looks like Doc Rivers is going to be the coach. I'm sorry if I'm gonna get rid of my coach and not give him a chance and say it's championship or bust, then to come in mid-season, you're gonna need a coach that has a strong personality, a championship pedigree, and that's Doc Rivers. Uh, he's gonna be respected by the players. Giannis and Dame Lillard, you walk in there mid-season, you're gonna need a guy like Doc Rivers to make that to be able to come in, uh, get things calm. Doc Rivers is a very strong defensive-minded coach. He grew up in the Chicago area, which is right in that same Milwaukee area. Um, so he's kind of a good fit. Personally, Doc Rivers, players love working for him as well. If you were gonna give your coach that short of a leash, you should have just started with Doc Rivers. I think they'd be
Mhm.
further along. To be looking around as a coach and saying, "Hey, we're on a winning streak. We're at the top of the division. We're battling for home field, and we still have the midseason. I mean, all-star break to work on things. This has to come as a shock if you're the coach.
Is this like a normal thing for the Bucks to fire this often? Because
No. Okay, go to why did you say that?
um, because Mike Boldenhauser,
Okay.
was fired in 2023 following the first round collapse against the Miami Heat. So Griffin
Now
was
see,
hired shortly after that.
I understand that you have that championship mindset and it's championship or bust, and you're going in there and you're expected to make it past Miami, and you get a big upset where a team that you looked at as and that you're the superior team and your team collapses. I could see why an owner would be like, you know what, this has to change. But to be early in the regular season, haven't even given your coach a half a season or a whole season to really show what he can do. I just thought it, like I said, poor form. Now, honestly, if I'm looking at it but if you're looking at it and you're just saying, I'm looking at this guy, and I know I'm talking on both sides, but I'm trying to look at things through the owner's eyes. And you're saying, listen, it's early in the season. Yes, we have a good record, but I look at this team and I say, we're not good enough to get past the Celtics. We're not good enough to get past the 76ers or whomever. I mean, and you're saying like, you know what, we need to make a change. I understand. I just feel like as an organization, that should have been thought about before the season ever started. You should look at, okay, we're championship or bust, what's going to happen? And I don't know this, but you have to think in the back of my mind, is there a cultural or a relationship fracture between Dame Leonard and Giannis with the coach, and they were checking out. His message was falling on deaf ears. There has to be more to this. It may never come out, but there has to be more. You cannot be on a winning streak. But great record. You're doing strong unless the owner's looking in there and it's just like Giannis and Dame are just like they're not feeling the coach. This is not working. And someone has gone behind the scenes and said, listen, our star players are not happy with the way they're being utilized or not happy with the way they're playing. There has to be more to this to get rid of the coach this early in his tenure with the organization.
Yeah, I
So
feel like, I at least wait. I would say at least wait a year, because then he can like build relationships with those players, utilize them to the best of his ability and their ability. That way, they can play with each other's strengths. Um,
yeah, okay.
I'm shocked. I was shocked by the news.
Oh, you're thinking rational. You're saying give it a year. How about this? Give it a give it to the All-Star break. Give them to the All-Star break, and then you could still make this move and still at the All-Star break bring in Doc Rivers, but it still phases me. I'm still can't wrap my head around. They're not right now in the West the eighth seed or the ninth seed or the 10th seed. They're the number 2 seed with a shot at being the number 1 seed with over majority of the season still left. I'm sorry, it has to be more than that. Someone has gone to the owner. Someone has either relayed something or the owner has seen something that he doesn't like, and he's just like, we made a mistake and I'm rectifying it right now. And if that's the case, if the owner's looking at it and just saying he's seeing something that is so egregious that it's like we're making a change, that is his prerogative. If I, later on, if I was a coach, if I was an upstart coach and the Milwaukee Bucks came to me, this would come back. I would look at this hard before I said, you know what, I want to go to the Bucks. And when you're looking at Doc Rivers, championship coach, loved by the players, have had a great record. But if you're talking about you fired your last coach because of an epic collapse, Doc Rivers has been year after year, season after season since that Celtics championship. Doc Rivers is known for his teams collapsing in the playoffs. So, what happens if the proverbial Doc Rivers team collapse happens this year? Are you going to fire Doc Rivers and you're looking for another coach? These are all things that I'm looking at that I'm wondering about here.
Yeah, it definitely seems like something else is going on behind the scenes. While Adrian Griffin is gone and
Mm-hmm.
they're looking to hire somebody else, assistant coach Joe Prunty is expected to take over as an interim basis. How do
Yes.
you feel about that?
Well, that's pretty standard. And it's a smart move. If you're gonna get rid of your coach, you can't like just blow up everything mid-season. That would be crazy. So you have an assistant coach that understands the players, understands the culture, understands the offense, the schemes, and makes it easier to transition into bringing in Doc Rivers, where you have somebody that could work hand in hand with Doc to bring him up to speed and make that transition from the current system to implementing more of what Doc Rivers wants. I'm there from everything I'm hearing. They're looking at hiring Doc Rivers could be as early as today, from kind of what's been kind of out there. So, and I'm making the assumption. I know that there's other coaches that are being considered, but in my opinion, no, there's not. There's only Doc Rivers. You're not. I mean, if you're a championship team with Giannis and Dame Lillard, you're gonna have to bring in someone that they truly respect and are going to fall in line in what he has to say. So partnering Doc Rivers up with the assistant coach and them working together, it's the only decision that I see. Because if you go any other direction, you could lose your team. Uh, if the players aren't happy, if the players are wondering what's going on, that shows up on the court and a team. You're talking about epic collapse. That's when an epic collapse can happen. So to prevent that, you have to bring in a Doc Rivers.
Well, hopefully it works out for them and they, don't fire Doc Rivers after 6 months of
Oh,
being on the job.
and listen, I know it sounds crazy, but if Doc Rivers goes into Milwaukee and Milwaukee goes up and let's say they're playing Miami or Philly or even worse, Philadelphia, where Doc Rivers was the coach at before, and they're up 3-0 and the 76ers come roaring back and win in a 7-game series. Oh boy, you talk about the news headlines writing themselves. You're gonna be leading every single podcast, sports center, talk show in the country. So it's a heck of a risk. It's a risk reward. If they win it all, everyone's gonna look at the owner as he's a genius. He's an outright genius. He saw something that was wrong. He fixed it, and it propelled them to the championship. So this one's going to be this could be a heaven or hell situation, I think.
Well,
So,
I guess we have to wait and see and find out whether or not it was
all
the right
right.
decision. Um, all right, guys, we're going to take a quick little break, and when we come back, we'll be discussing Pete Carroll and the LA Chargers. Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Earlier, we were discussing Adrian Griffin being fired as the Milwaukee Bucks head coach, and now we're going to dive into Pete Carroll, who is making behind-the-scenes push for the LA Chargers job. But first, I wanted to remind you guys that if you like the show and you want to send us a comment, please remember that you can send tips and donations to the link streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. But let's dive into Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll is making behind-the-scenes push for the LA Chargers coaching job. Pete Carroll was a former Seattle Hawks head coach.
Seahawks, yes.
Seahawks, yeah, sorry.
Yes.
The Seahawks announced earlier this month that Carroll was out as head coach after 14 seasons, 10 playoff appearances, and 1 Super Bowl title. However, the Seahawks have also revealed at the time that Carroll would remain with the franchise in an unspecified advisory role moving forward. So, however, like we discussed yesterday, Jim Harbaugh is in LA currently interviewing for the Chargers head coach position. But people are saying that Pete Carroll also really, really wants this job. However, the Chargers have interviewed several candidates, and Carroll is actually not one of them. So.
Oh, okay. So he didn't even get it. He hasn't even gotten an interview then.
I don't know if he. It said he didn't get a second interview, so I don't know if he interviewed with them once before.
And they might have talked to him, or what they're saying is pretty much behind the scenes that Pete Carroll is very interested in that job. First off, I think most of the coaches are going to want that LA Chargers job. You have a situation where you have Justin Herbert, you have your franchise quarterback. The hardest position to fill is that franchise quarterback. And that's the one thing that the Chargers have. Pretty much the way it sounds and way everything looks, that Chargers job is pretty much Jim Harbaugh's for the taking, as long as he wants it. And I kind of feel like it comes down to, does Jim Harbaugh want to stay in Michigan, or does he want that Chargers job? That's the way it sounds. Now, speaking of Pete Carroll, I was a little surprised that they went away from Pete Carroll. Yes, Pete Carroll is an older coach, but Pete Carroll is a young 70 something. I mean, I know it sounds funny saying he's a young 70, but I just think about this year watching Pete Carroll in practice, and he's rolling out, he's throwing passes, he's running around. Listen, Pete Carroll is in better shape than I am. I mean, fit, lively. He's been with the franchise, you said 14 years, 10 years of that making the playoffs. He almost made the playoffs this year. I was surprised that they went away from him. Yes, they did announce that he was going to be staying with the organization. And I think that's kind of what the Seahawks organization, he has meant so much to the Seattle community. He's meant so much to that team. I think they kind of want him to stay there. But Pete Carroll, I think he feels like he has a lot more coaching left in him. And this particular case, I agree. Where I look at Bill Belichick. Yes, Bill Belichick is the greatest coach of all times, best record, as long as he has Tom Brady. I'm going to say that much. But you look at Pete Carroll, and I say young 70. When I look at, it's just rude to say, crusty, old, grumpy Bill Belichick, I feel like the game has passed him by a little bit. Teams are going very strong toward the offensive coordinators, and I feel like the new NFL has kind of started to move past Bill Belichick, and he's kind of old school. I don't feel that way with Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll, when he was having a problem with Russell Wilson, and that whole Russ needs to cook, and that sounds kind of funny now considering everything that's happened with Russell Wilson. He made the adjustment, and he tried to make it so that Russell Wilson could have more freedom in the offense. When Russell Wilson left, to go out, get Geno Smith, and be able to tailor the offense around Geno Smith and become successful with it. Like I said, they were very close to being a contender in a very tough division where you got to play the 49ers twice. You got to play the Rams twice. Granted, you do get those Cardinals, which makes life a little bit easier, but that is a very tough division and came very close to making it. You look at Pete Carroll and his history, long history with Seattle, a great history in college football. I think the Chargers definitely could do worse. If I'm trying to get Jim Harbaugh and I can't get Jim Harbaugh or Vrabel or someone like that, I would run to Pete Carroll. So I don't think it's that crazy to go for Pete Carroll at all. Anything else you want to add with that, as you were saying?
Um, I was thinking that because he is in his 70s, that maybe that is not why he's being considered. Even though you said that, he's a young 70, how many more years does he have left in him before he's going to retire? So maybe that is one of the reasons why they're not considering him for the job, but also
I would agree. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
but
Also, what?
also with Jim Harbaugh, I mean, seems like he would be a good fit, and I think he's probably going to take that job. So
Uh,
which
and
Tate
that
is
one always
upset
has.
about.
Okay. First off, what you're saying about Pete Carroll being older. If you've followed Pete and you've seen him, he is not slowing up. He does not seem, he's not an old man. He's fit. He's energetic. He can still relate to the players. I think he relates to the players better than a lot of the young coaches do. So Yes, but taking kind of in account what you're saying, if you're an organization and you're saying, listen, we have Justin Herbert for the next decade, and you're saying, I want to team up my coach with my decade long quarterback, taking in a 70-year-old guy may not be the smartest decision. And with that one, I totally agree with you on that one. Audience, we're not trying to age discriminate, but we're
No.
talking about a situation where you're looking at wanting to partner your quarterback up with a guy, your quarterback who, with the way science has gone, the way Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady has gone, where Justin Herbert could easily play 10, 15 years. So if you go on a run, if you go on a Patriot type run, you go on a Kansas City Chiefs type run, a younger quarterback is the way to go. And sorry if it came down to me and Harbaugh, Pete Carroll, Vrabel, any of the other coaches out there, it's a no-brainer. If Jim Harbaugh says yes to going to the Chargers, you sign him. You sign him to a big contract, a loan contract, that's going to partner you and your quarterback up for a decade plus. Now, with that caveat, when you start thinking about Jim Harbaugh, there is a no question about Jim Harbaugh is the most equipped quarterback to turn the Chargers around. And you look at it and you say, man, Harbaugh has won everywhere. San Diego State, Stanford University, San Francisco 49ers, the Michigan Wolverines, national champion. It's proven. The proof's in the pudding as far as will Harbaugh succeed. I have no doubt Jim Harbaugh will succeed. But if you look at Jim Harbaugh's history, I'm a huge Harbaugh fan. But the history shows that Jim Harbaugh wears owners a little thin, wear the powers that be out after a while. Eventually, it just seems like, and everything that I'm hearing, it seems like after a while, the ownership group at the 49ers, they kind of wanted him gone. There are some rumblings that there are some people within the University of Michigan that wants him gone, that they're split. There's a group that's like, we want Harbaugh to be here forever. And then there's another group, which may be smaller, but there is a group out there that is saying, yes, we would be more than happy. I think it's time. We have our national championship. We've been dealing with this guy. Is it worth dealing with this guy much longer? Maybe it's time to make a change. That seems to happen everywhere Harbaugh goes. And maybe even with the Chargers, Harbaugh goes there. But if that happens, maybe you're still not looking at a decade and a half long tenure with Jim Harbaugh. And I don't know if you knew about that, but that is something that has been said about Harbaugh numerous places.
Well, it's been
See, I had a loss for words. I left you speechless.
Going back to Pete Carroll, it's been said that he really, really wants this job. Like, he has always said that he wants to work for the Chargers. Snoop Dogg.
It's a perfect fit.
Yeah, Snoop Dogg commented on it, who apparently is a friend of Pete Carroll. Snoop Dogg said that's what he wanted, but I don't know if they want him. So I guess it comes down to if Jim Harbaugh takes the job. However, they haven't had a second interview with him, so I don't know if they're even really considering him at all. So
I'm going to comment on what you said about Snoop Dogg, and it kind of reminded me. Pete Carroll is former USC Trojans coach, national champion, is a legend in the Los Angeles market. He is loved in that Los Angeles market, hence the reason why Snoop Dogg and him are friends. Um, that would be a really nice homecoming to bring the legend back home to the Los Angeles market. I think that would be, if you don't get Harbaugh, I think that would be great for the community. The Chargers are an organization that is an organization without a home. Yes, they are the Los Angeles Chargers, but they're not really loved in Los Angeles. It's a Laker town. It's a Rams town. It's a USC Trojans town. It's, might I even say, I mean, it's a Dodgers town. They're behind the Clippers when it comes to cachet in the Los Angeles market. There's a long way for them to go. And I think that's a good fit, bringing in a Pete Carroll, a guy that is loved in that market, uh, people that would love to see him come home. And so I think it's a good move. So
Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see if Jim Harbaugh is going to take the job or not.
I'm surprised that it hasn't been announced. It has to be announced. The playoff games are about to happen. So I'm predicting by Monday, either he's going to be with Michigan or with the Chargers no later than Monday. That's my prediction.
Alrighty, well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to be discussing the WWE Raw and its move to Netflix. Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Earlier, we were discussing Pete Carroll and his behind the scenes push to try and get the Chargers head coach job. And now we're going to be diving into WWE Raw and its move to Netflix. WWE Raw will be moving to Netflix in 2025 on a massive $5 billion deal, which is actually more money than they are making right now.
A heck of a lot more money,
yeah,
actually.
A lot more money, yeah. TKO Group Holdings, the merged company with UFC and WWE, announced yesterday that WWE's Monday Night Raw will be moving to Netflix starting in 2025 in a deal reportedly worth $5 billion over 10 years. The new deal shifts Raw off television for the first time since it was launched 31 years ago. Because of this, there is some worry about UFC because UFC is currently streamed on ESPN and ESPN Plus, and ESPN Plus has a deal with Disney. I have the number somewhere of how much Disney, or maybe not. Anyway, Disney obviously
it's a lot,
paying a buttload of money, but it will come down to, I guess, next year whether or not Disney is going to up their deal with UFC to keep them on ESPN Plus, or I guess UFC will move to Netflix. I don't know.
Okay, this one surprised me. It should not have surprised me, but it did. I think it surprised me twofold. First off, this is the way media is going. Everyone is going to streaming. Uh, the world of cable television and network television is dying. And but the one thing that cable and network television has had a chokehold on is live sports and news. That's their strong suit. People are not tuning in to watch the brand new program on this station or that station any longer. Uh, it's all about going to your Paramount Plus, your Disney, and so on. So I never ever even thought about the WWE or anything else. But when you think about this year, there was a lot of people very upset about that Chargers, I mean, not the Chargers, but the Kansas City game that was played on Paramount Plus. And I'm going to tell you this. There was a lot of people upset with that game being on Paramount Plus, but when you look at the numbers, the subscription base went through the roof. They ended up with 20 something million people that tuned in to a streaming service to watch a live game. And I think Netflix is looking at that. They're looking at the deal that the NFL has, and they're making that move. When you look at, there's been rumblings that ESPN is even thinking about within the next 4 to 5 years getting out of the network television game, getting out of the cable television game, and going strictly with the streaming. That's the reason why ESPN Plus is out there. That's the reason why the Pat McAfees are now on ESPN, because they have a strong YouTube following. They're building that streaming service. So when you look at the WWE, which has a stranglehold on that young demographic, decade after decade, year after year, they always get that young demographic. I, as a young kid, grew up watching WWE wrestling. Back then it was a WWF wrestling. I no longer watch it. I'll check it out every once in a while, but it always has that audience. Now, the thing which you brought up is the Vince McMahon no longer makes the main decision. TKO owns the WWE and the UFC. It does give concern that if the WWE, which is a staple on network television, is now going to Netflix, which is synonymous with watching movies and television shows. It's not like if it's said Hulu, who has been making their slogan is Hulu has live sports. No one thinks about, hey, live sports on where did I can't the streaming service that it went to that they signed to deal with. I just went brain dead on
Netflix.
on the name. No, on Netflix. Couldn't get Netflix out to save my life. But you don't think about Netflix and say, hey, I want to go watch the game. But it is showing that Netflix, which is the biggest, baddest guy on the block when it comes to streaming. Now if they're getting into WWE, then they're gonna make a play for that UFC. It makes sense. And the UFC has made a lot of money for ESPN and Disney. So I could totally see them getting both of them and making a play for both of them. What do you think?
Well, I'm curious to see how Netflix is going to be treating live shows, if they're going to do live shows, because I have beef with Netflix.
Ooh, beef. I want to hear this.
For one, the family household stuff, not fair. I share a Netflix account with my parents, and I no longer can watch Netflix on that account because I'm not a part of the same household. Anyway, moving on.
No. This is part of this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
This is definitely a part of the conversation, that there's a lot of people that are upset about that. For Netflix, though, they're looking at, they are losing billions.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at, hey, I share my account with my mom and my parents, and there's other people. It's like, listen, I share it with my mom, my brother, my sister, my aunt, my uncle, my cousin. Uh, you know, they're cracking down on that because these corporations are saying the bottom line, and they're trying to make a run at taking over, you know, network television. And they're looking at you as hurting their bottom line. They want to break people like you and your family
Mm-hmm.
up, where like, you need a subscription for your daughter, you need a subscription for your mom and dad, and your niece and nephew. They got to get their own subscription because they're going to be making plays for the WWEs, the UFC, and the NFL
Right.
coming up.
Well, I
So,
remember I am a big fan of Love is Blind on Netflix. I don't know if you've
okay,
seen it or not.
have not.
Um, and it was I think it was last season. One of the past seasons they tried to do a live reunion show on Netflix, and some people could access the live show and then others, which was me, could not. The live show I
Oh,
think
really?
was premiering at 7 o'clock that day, and I stayed up till midnight to see if the streaming would work for me. And Netflix
Mm-hmm.
was like announcing like, sorry about the issues, we're like trying to work it through, whatever. And then Netflix just ended up, some people were able to watch it live, but Netflix just ended up having to record the entire reunion and then put it on Netflix for the people who couldn't access the live stream. So I'm wondering if this is going to be an issue again with bringing in WWE and potentially UFC as well.
Now, see, what you just brought up makes me think uh, that Netflix is a genius. And here's the reason why I think what you just said reigns as the smartest move possible. When you're building out your new streaming service so you can stream live events, and there's problems with the live event. Here's the one group that it doesn't matter. You look at the numbers. When Monday Night Raw is on, they're gonna watch Monday Night Raw. If the streaming doesn't work and they have to watch the pre-recorded Monday Night Raw, they're going to watch it. So if they have kinks and they have to play a rebroadcast of it, it will still do numbers. I watch sometimes old Rumble Royals from 10, 15 years ago, and you look at the numbers, and hundreds of thousands of people are going and watching those old episodes. Wrestling fans will still go and watch the pre-recorded broadcast. Hence, if they're homing in their skills by making sure that the streaming works for WWE, and once they have that set, it makes it so much easier to transition over to the UFC and NFL and college football and basketball and baseball. And so I think it's kind of smart that they may go with the WWE first, as one that is not so forgiving. Imagine you, a big Georgia fan. It's Georgia, Alabama for the SEC championship, and you're trying to watch it on Netflix and it doesn't work. People would lose their mind. But if it's a Monday Night Raw and the streaming doesn't work, but they put up in a half an hour, an hour later, the episode of Monday Night Raw, people will still watch it. But you can't do that with live. And yes, WWE is live sports, but it's sports entertainment. We're talking actual live sports. You can't have these issues. So them working it out with wrestling, I think is smart. Also, part of that, I don't know if you saw this, but there was another news where they announced with The Rock. The Rock is now going to be a part of going to be on the board of directors uh, with the whole company, and he now owns his name. The Rock has never owned his name. He owns Dwayne Johnson, but he did not. The WWE owned The Rock. Now, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, The Rock is wholly owned by him now, and he's going to be on the board of directors, which then opens it up because that means they're saying, "Hey, The Rock is going to be definitely doing WrestleMania now, which is going to do huge numbers, which is going to kick off the start of this whole Netflix deal." So,
Well, I guess I'm interested to see if UFC is going to come on Netflix as well and how they're going to deal with that. Because I feel like UFC games would be the same as like watching a football game, and if the
oh
streaming
no,
doesn't work,
would be the same.
people would
Yes.
get very upset. So I don't know if UFC is going to move to Netflix as well, or if Netflix is going to start off with WWE to try and figure out the kinks with that and then bring in UFC, or if UFC is just going to strictly stay with ESPN.
I'm very curious. I'm going to tell you this move with Netflix with the WWE has just guaranteed that UFC contract is going to be massive, because if ESPN wants to keep the UFC, they're not going to be able to lowball to get it. They're going to know that they're going to have to beat the Netflix and the Hulus of the world to keep the live fights on their organization. And they're making really good money off of ESPN Plus because of the UFC, and they're cleaning up on the pay-per-view dollars as well. The ESPN does not want to lose the UFC.
So I guess it just all depends if ESPN or Disney owns ESPN now, right? Or
Yes,
is
and
it
the way
just
I
ESPN Plus?
no, no, no. Disney owns ESPN. I also believe I'm not 100% positive on this, but I'm almost positive Disney also owns Fox Sports as well, but they're two
I
separate entities.
think so.
Yes, I
One
believe
of the
that's.
other, yeah, one of the other
And
ones.
I know for a fact ESPN is owned by Disney, but I also think either Disney partially owns Fox Sports. ESPN and Fox Sports has nothing to do with each other, but the parent company is Disney and something else for Fox Sports, I thought.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if Disney is going to raise their price up along with Netflix to try and keep UFC, or if UFC can even like separate from WWE. I don't know if they'll allow separation for streaming to be on
Well,
different platforms.
right now they are separate.
Right.
One's on network television, other one's with ESPN. They've been keeping them separate. I mean, because they just came together last year,
Mm.
so they've always been separate organizations. And TKO Holdings purchased both of them, or a majority owner for both. And so they're going to always go out to bid as separate entities, but to put them all is very neat, a very nice, neat package to put them all under one umbrella. And the Netflix umbrella could be that platform.
Well, I guess if you are a WWE fan, make sure to get a Netflix subscription in 2025 so that you can watch Monday Night Raw. Um, but we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to do our oddities of the day. Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Earlier, we were discussing WWE Raw and its move to Netflix in January of 2025. And now we are going to get into our oddities of the day. We've got some interesting stories today, like always.
I'm always smiling when this subject when this comes up. I have no clue what Faith is going to throw at me. Absolutely no clue. So let's see what we got.
We've got a fun one today. If you have beef with an ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, ex-partner, or an ex-friend, you can call up a shelter in Rhode Island and pay them $5 to write down the name of that person, and they will stick it in the cat's litter box, and the cats will poop on your ex.
Oh, okay. All right. Is there any more to this?
Rhode Island Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals said its Love Stinks promotion will allow members of the public to get some sweet revenge and stinky revenge at the time of year most known for celebrating love. So this is going on for Valentine's Day. So if you're spending Valentine's Day alone and you're upset about it, you can take some revenge on the person who's making you spend Valentine's Day alone by paying $5 to have the name written down. Or actually even something you wish to bury in the litter box. So it can be a name or I guess a trinket from the relationship that is no longer in existence.
Okay. I'm making this worse than what it is. Okay. First, I think when I think about it, it's like this is lame. You're gonna pay, $5 to say Becky. Then a cat's gonna do his business on the word Becky. But then a little twisted part of me started popping in my head, and it's like, wait a minute, they could be onto something. You're sitting at home all alone. You have no date for Valentine's Day, and you're wondering what your ex is doing, and then your phone goes off, and you look at the phone, and it's a video of little Rex over there pooping on your name, thinking only of you, Becky. They can expand their services here.
I wonder if they're gonna do like a live stream or something for people to, I guess, be able to watch, which is a little weird. But I mean, it's
totally weird. But if you're gonna go that route, you might as well go that route.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's a little weird that you're paying $5 to have an ex's name put in a litter box. But I guess it is for a good cause. So,
well, you give a little money to the shelter, and I guess it shows a level of pettiness, or is that petty or is that pathetic?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah. I mean, I've always prided myself on, I always say I'm a good breaker upper over the years. And I always have, I've always done the breaking up, always in person. I'm not the guy that ghosts people or break up by text. It's not working. You're a good person. I'm a good person. We need to go our separate ways. I'm not the kind of guy to be like, you know what? The heck with you, Faith. And I'm going over to the shelter because I want little Sparky to poop on your name.
Yeah, I don't understand what people think they're going to get out of this. Like, are they going to, like, notify the person that, hey, I put your name in a litter box for a cat to poop on, by the way?
Yes!
Or are they just going to, like, I don't know, not say anything? Does that make them feel better? I don't know.
You're over there snickering in the corner, like, hey, he. I think if you're gonna go to that level of pathetic and pettiness, not meaning to be mean or rude to anyone who has done this, because you're giving money to a great cause, but I think you gotta at least I think you need to at least do a video, a live stream, a video email, something so that the person at least knows that it's been done. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I guess it would kind of be on the same, like in the same playing field as like burning your partner's stuff if they break up with you without, destroying items. But for me, if I was going to go through all that level of pettiness and patheticness, I would do more than just put somebody's name in a litter box for a cat to
Oh,
do
wait,
its
wait.
business on.
Whoa, whoa. I'm Faith. I don't want you going to prison now. We just started this show.
No,
I need to be strong.
no, not that far. Faith
But go
can
ahead,
be
right?
petty. Faith can be petty, though. She can be petty.
Wow. So are you a good breaker upper or a bad breaker upper?
I feel like everybody thinks they're a good breaker upper.
Okay.
I have
Let
tried to
me
be a good breaker upper, but sometimes it's not reciprocated the way it needs to be by the other person, so it kind of messes with you trying to be an adult and trying to do it in an adult way. So,
I'm the weird guy. And the reason why I say I'm a good breaker upper, this is gonna set off all kind of like craziness. But I am friends with pretty much every girl I have dated. Look at the look. As a matter of fact,
mm,
I'm married. I'm happily married now. But until I moved to Europe, I would have my birthday party every year. I'd have a New Year's party. I always had parties with, between 40 and 100 people that would be there. And it would never fail that I would have anywhere from 2 to 5 ex-girlfriends that would be there because I'm still friends with them. I'm loving the way you're shaking. I want to hear all this. And my thing is one, I'm always honest with the person, and I'd rather tell them, like, listen, it doesn't mean you're a bad person just because we're not making it, but this is not working for me, or I'm not working for you. We need to part. And I have a golden rule. You only get one shot at the title. That means we were together, we broke up. There is a reason why, good or bad, whatever the reason why we broke up, you never go back. Once you're done, we're done. And so I think it prevents a lot of bad feelings. You were shaking your head no on all of this. So let me hear what you're going to say on this one.
I have tried to be friends with exes, and it doesn't work out because I don't know. I have an issue with like trying to move on after the breakup, and so if I'm still friends with that person, I will obsess over every little thing that they're doing, and if they're doing better than
Oh,
me,
really?
I'm gonna be upset about it. So I have to like completely cut off all communication with that person just because I will obsess over it, and
Interesting.
I won't be able to move on as quickly if I try to be involved with that person's life after the relationship is over. So,
What about like a cooling off period? Is there like a cooling off period? Let's say 6 months or a year later, can you be friends with an ex after 6 months to a year,
I think
or just no, you're done?
I think maybe, but I haven't been in that many relationships, and a lot of my breakups did not go very well, and so
Okay.
I can't really be friends with them after that. So,
Well, most people see you're the normal one. I'm the abnormal one. Most people are not like me that can be friends. Matter of fact, my wife is actually friends with some of my exes.
that's insane.
Because I we've parted, we've gone our separate ways. There is nothing on the planet that would allow me to go back to an ex. We tried it, it didn't work, we're done. So the only thing that girl can be or that person can be is she can only be a friend and nothing more. So I'm never going to cross that line. That's my big rule. You cross that line, then you're opening yourself up for trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So I know.
Well,
I love Faith's reaction to that. Like, well, so you're more likely to get to spend the $5 for the shelter than I am on that one.
I would do it for the cause, but no, I'm the person that writes an angry letter but doesn't send it to them and then crumbles it up and throws it away. That's what I do.
That is interesting. It's funny hearing how people handle different relationships and how they handle breakups and things. Uh, like you were saying, you it bothers you if they're doing better than you once you break up. And see, that doesn't, it's like that chapter is over. I don't care if she dates a homeless guy or The Rock. It is over for me.
Well, I think it might have something to do with like my past taste in partners and that they weren't very nice people, and so I don't want
Ooh.
them to be successful.
Yeah, so there's some like, okay, I got some pent up issues with
Yeah.
them. You know, they weren't good to me because of this and this.
Hmm.
And you don't want them like, okay, you treated me like crap and now you're gonna land in a bed of flowers. I
Right.
get you. I
And
understand where that comes from.
I don't I don't wish them the worst, but if it happens,
I don't want you to fall in front of a bus, but if the bus
But
accidentally ran over your pinky toe, I'm okay with
yeah.
it.
Yeah. Well,
Oh.
guys, if you want to support a good cause and have a level of pettiness, but, you know, don't want to do anything too aggressive or angry, call up that shelter in Rhode Island and send your $5.
Send your $5, get your passive aggressive pettiness out of you, help a good cause. I'm pro this one.
Yeah. Alrighty. We have another story. A Chinese marathon runner was disqualified for chain smoking through a race. A top Chinese marathon runner has been disqualified from a recent event for smoking cigarette after cigarette as he ran the race, with organizers branding the 52-year-old's conduct uncivilized behavior. Uncle Chen, or the smoking brother, finished the marathon in just 3 hours and 33 minutes, chain smoking the entire time.
Oh,
And
wait a minute.
this is
Go
not
ahead,
the
go ahead.
first this is not the first time he has chain smoked in a race.
Okay. All right. Right out the gate. I'm this guy's fan. Unless this is a heart association, cancer association, lung association race, I think they should not have disqualified him. As a matter of fact, they should double the prize money for him. He should get a trophy, a plaque, and one of those big old checks because he's doing the opposite of using performance enhancers. He's using performance dehancers or whatever. What would you call that? If you're smoking, first off, to be smoking, it's going to mess up your stride. It's hurting your lungs. He's such a awesome runner that he can smoke a package. I can't even think of Marlboros. I can't even think of a cigarette. I've never smoked a day in my
This
life.
cowboy cigarette.
This is Marlboro 2024. He's firing up a package of Marlboros and smoking, and he's smoking the competition as well. I
Yeah.
think he gets bonus. He gets bonus. I can't even drive a marathon in the time that he ran a marathon.
I know, that's insane. I'm not a runner. It takes me I'm not even going to tell my running time for a mile because it takes me way too long. I blame it on my height though. I am 4'11 and a half. So That's
Wow. No, yeah, you're running double marathons then. Yeah, but
yeah.
411, you're not and you're doing twice as many steps.
Yeah.
I'm 5'11", so I can run a decent back in the day. Nowadays, yeah, maybe I don't know how far I'm running right now, but I could run a decent marathon. I mean, decent mile, but I don't know if I mean I remember some years ago I decided I was going to take part in those triathlon, but it was each person had a leg. So one person ran, one person swam, and I was a runner. There was some person that was supposed to swim, and then there was another person that was doing the bike part of it. And the race got canceled because there was an accident. It was a bad accident in the water, and so I never ran it. So I've never ran. So to get time, in an actual race that kind of way when I think it was a 10K I had to run. But no, a marathon,
I don't know
those
how you do
guys
it.
are, that's 26 miles.
Mm-mm.
That's next level fitness. But hey, I'm going to run 26 miles. I got me a package of Marlboros and some Pall Mall Reds. I'm firing them up as I'm running, and he's going to do it in a very professional time. That is next level. That is impressive. Are you not at least a little impressed?
No, I'm very impressed. You would not catch me running a marathon, period. But if I was running a marathon, or at least attempting to run a marathon, I would not be puffing cigarettes back to back. I would pass out. I would probably die, honestly.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. If you took all these other guys, if they started puffing on a cigarette, they wouldn't finish the race. This guy is chain smoking cigarettes as he's running the marathon, and he's completing it in a very respectable time.
Yeah, I think I
Uh,
read that like chain smoking actually like calms him down.
whoa.
Yeah, so he uses it as a method to keep calm while performing in the marathon, so he just
So
continuously smokes cigarettes.
so he's just like, wow. I don't even know what the science is behind that. I bet you if sports science really broke it down, I would love to see what they find with this guy, because this guy, this sounds like this isn't the first time he's done this. He's done this numerous times.
Yeah. Hmm.
Now, okay, I'm getting this picture. This guy, he has a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. He got a cup of black coffee in the other hand as he's running it. He might put a
Just
robe on.
bolting down the track.
I think, if you're going to do it right. Give him a bathrobe, have him in his boxers, give him a cup of coffee and a cigarette, and just let him run the marathon that way.
At least like you can like see when he's coming because there's a path of smoke that's following him behind.
Wait a minute. Maybe that's his thing. He blows out so much smoke that the people behind him can't pass him. Is
Well,
that what it is?
it was said that international attention that the story received, the Chinese Athletic Association urged all marathons in the country to ban smoking, and now Uncle Chen's been caught out by the rule. So it seems like because people are talking about it and all eyes are kind of on him, they're like, no, you can't do that anymore, and you've actually been disqualified, even though your time was 3 hours and 33 minutes.
I say that's bad form. That's a performance de-escalator, the de-enhancer. So
Mm-hmm.
no one, there's no football player, basketball player, track and field runner, MMA fighter that's out there saying, you know what makes me a better runner, a better football player? Smoking a pack a day, chain smoking.
Smoking cigarettes. I didn't even realize. I didn't know people still smoke cigarettes. Honestly, I thought they were all vaping now. I thought
Oh,
I thought cigarettes were outdated.
Cigarettes are alive and strong as ever in Europe. People smoke in Europe, definitely. I
Crazy.
see you don't see a lot of smoking in the US any longer, but you definitely see it in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's weird because people in Europe traditionally live longer than Americans, but
Maybe
they
it's the
smoke more.
cigarettes.
It's that calming effect that the cigarettes do,
It's
lowers
that.
their heart rate so they live longer.
It's the nicotine buzz. That's what's keeping us all alive.
I love it. All right.
Alrighty, guys. Well, that is going to be the end of our show. Thank you for tuning into the Tatecast presented by GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. You may feel like it doesn't do much, but it actually really helps a lot. We
It
also
definitely
invite
does.
you. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, X or Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. Thank you once again, and you guys have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
All right.